The Townsville Super Street Party, what a great way to kick off a huge weekend of racing at the Castrol Edge Townsville 400. Have a look at that for a grid of absolute stunners. Some European stallions out there. And qualifying, well, it was an exciting one. The first results from yesterday saw Clark Quinn on pole, but Christopher Mies, Tony D'Alberto managed to better those times in that last session. Mies was on fire, wasn't he?
Absolutely. We had great track conditions at that time of the qualifying session, and he actually set a lap record around here, so very, very impressive. We
saw them dip down into the 11s, so they're on the grid right now, but earlier in the day after that qualifying session, Kylie King was down there. Just to recap this qualifying too, ended up looking like this. We did get down into the 11s eventually. Christopher Mies, who will share that car with Tony Bates, got down into a 1:11.86, which was under the lap record. But as I was saying, Kylie King did catch up with the German after that huge lap.
The fast man in qualifying, Chris Mies, we've missed you, but you're back, and I believe it's like 7 weekends in a row you've been racing. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Well, first of all, I'm happy to be back with Jem McPam and MPC, and you know, to kick it off right now with the pole position is really, really good. Yeah, like you said, I'm racing quite a lot in Europe right now, so unfortunately I had to miss some rounds, but like I said before, I'm happy to be back.
And Townsville, it's a place you guys love. The Aussies rave about it, and you're a big fan too, I hear.
Yeah, well, it's a fantastic place to be. I think the weather is just beautiful, not too warm, not too cold. It's still better than our summer, and actually I think it's your winter here. So yeah, I'm quite happy to be back here.
And that was a fast lap that you did in qualifying. What's the race pace going to be like, do you think?
Well, it will be interesting to see how the tire degradation will be during the 1 hour race. I think we are quite good sorted out. I mean, we tested a lot, and for me, you know, it will be a very tight race, especially with the Merc, with Craig Bird. But yeah, well, it depends all on the pit stop and the second driver, so we'll see.
Here's the Golden Boy at Audi, a 12-hour winner at Bathurst, 24 hours at the Nordschleife, and also has picked up wins at Spa. So we're out in the formation lap. Tony, let's just quickly go through this. The rules are a little bit confusing. So the rankings to begin with, there are essentially 12 different rankings. What, you're a Pro 1, Pro 2? Okay. Yeah. So the good blokes like you get a nice pro ranking like that. I'd be AM6, right down the very bottom. If you're Tony, Frank Pro 3 or above, you're not allowed to drive by yourself, so you have to have a co-driver to quickly cover that one off. Now, the pit stop rules can get a bit confusing. You have to pit between the 24 and 36-minute mark. That's where the window is, but it gets tricky here because you're not allowed to drive for longer than 55% of the race, Tony. So a pro driver really has that window small, or really shrinks up for them as to when they can actually make that stop.
Yeah, and the whole idea behind it is trying to give the amateur driver a chance of winning the race. And you know, if they do a good job and the safety car falls at the right time, they'll get a win.
Christopher Mies will be starting from pole position in the Jem McPam Audi. And it is going to be a very exciting 1 hour race between Mies. Well, to get us to that pit stop, it's going to be Mies versus Baird.
Absolutely. It's going to be a dogfight at the front here. We've got some ripper drivers. Elliot Barber starting as well. And we've got Jono Webb.
Gee, they've got to hurry to get this grid together. We've got 2 corners until we drop the green flag. There's a couple of stragglers at the back. So they're going to have to drop the hammer just to catch up here. Lexus safety car pulls in. It's a bit of a messy one at the moment, but the guys at the front are set. It's Mies in the Audi. It's the Mercedes of Baird. A pair of McLarens. It's Webb in the white one. Barber, he's in there in the orange one, and behind them, Clark Quinn. Morecambe starting back in 12. He is the championship leader of the green flag in the air. Time to release the GTs at Townsville. McMillan in the Wilson storage car looks to the inside. He's an amateur fighting with the pros. Oh, someone got a little bit squirrely in the background, a bit of contact maybe. And it's Mies who holds his nerve down to the first of the big braking points.
It's all pretty tight at the moment. We haven't quite made it through just yet. Cold tyres at the moment, although it's very warm up here in Queensland. It's still relatively cold, the cars. So this first lap, they'll be tiptoeing around there. Clark Quinn up the inside of Elliot Barber. Nice little move.
Trying to give each other room in the background, aren't they? But it's a bit congested here.
And you know, if your driver's stop time is a little bit less than others, it's often good to play it a little bit smart early in this race and just keep the leaders in sight, knowing that in that pit stop time you're going to have less time to stop, so you can get back in front of them there. You don't have to go for that aggressive move early in the race. Webby, though, he's got one of the longest stops, sharing with Grant Denyer, so he has to try and get in front and make a bit of a break for it. Roger Largo.
Man. Martin got very close in the Porsche to the back of one of those Lambos. I think it was Largo, you're right. And Morecambe trying to fight his way through. Here comes Shields under brakes. And picks off Honduras. Ricky Capo goes with him.
Morecambe this weekend hasn't been as quick as what we'd expect, but he's one of those guys that has a short pit stop time. And as the race unfolds, you'll see him bounce back up the front. Got the two Lambos there. I believe we've got
McMillan
in the case. Yeah. A great job there.
So he's actually really holding his own.
Yep, he'll hand back over to Glenn Wood later in the race. Replay of the start here.
On board with Elliot Barber in the 61. He's got Jonathan Webb from Techno Autosport right there with him. Oh, he hit the limiter. Oh, and he hit his teammate too. Goodness, that could have been monstrous.
He did a good job there to keep it on the black stuff and not actually collect that wall. Oh, Jono Webb just wouldn't have realised he was right beside him there. Obviously, Jono wouldn't want to take out one of his own cars.
That could have been $1 million minute right there with a couple of McLarens. This is awesome stuff. John Martin around the top. Hangs it on the outside of Largo through a couple of right-handers and makes the move stick in the Walkinshaw 911 Porsche. That was a good move. Morecambe wants to go with him. And Shields is tucked up now behind the JBS Largo REX Lamborghini, the Rex as we call them. And look at the Lambo on a straight line, just haul past the
that's
McLaren.
the big strength of the Lambo. Lots and lots of straight line, but doesn't quite have the braking capacity of some of these other cars like the Audi and the McLaren as well. So that's its strength, and you'll see that play out over the race with these long straights. If he can get close enough to somebody, he'll make that move. Pity there's the corners in the way for the rest of the lap. That's the problem.
If it was a drag strip, the Lamborghini would probably be untouchable here this weekend.
Absolutely.
A couple of Porsches in this battle. The Shields and McPherson Porsche, which is not that one, but the other one did pick up a race win here last year, but had it taken away from them for a short pit stop as the McLaren pounces. It's the direct plasterboard outlet. McLaren of Nathan Morecambe, Sydney-based driver, leading the championship. Needs to fight for every point that he can right now because he's in an almighty fight for the championship with Clark Quinn. He goes to the inside of McMillan. He just sees him, and Capo gets 2 for 1.
Great move by Ricky. It's pretty aggressive.
Oh, it's tight with Shields. Shields uses the curbs to miss him. Good stuff. Capo in the Z4 actually up the road ahead of the newer BMW in the hands of Stephen Richards.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I think the Z4 would sort of suit this style of circuit more than the big M3. But when we go to different circuits like Phillip Island, the M3 certainly streaks ahead of the other car. So,
oh, the Aston Martin under brakes. Pull it up, Tony. He does. That's Tony Quinn, not Tony D'Alberto. And the Aston with Darrell Lee colours makes the move stick on James Honduras. He'll be handing that car over to Marcus Marshall later. Frantic start to this one. ABS being used to the maximum right now as they pull off some big daring braking manoeuvres.
Everyone's sort of behaving themselves though. They haven't really had much contact at all. Ricky here is going to stick his nose up the inside.
He's driving with a great deal of confidence, and Shields pounces on the fact that McMillan's off the racing line there. We're going to go side-by-side Lambos over the train tracks. That's not easy to do. They hang on to it, but they both had to lift, and that means that Tony Quinn's going to join the fray. And if McMillan's not careful, he'll also lose one to Honduras. He's busy fighting with Richards, and now Tony Wall's in this one. Great battle.
These cars are quite big cars, as you can imagine, driving them. You can't see a lot out of the car, so some of the cars will actually have like a digital display that'll show what's behind them. But it's still very difficult to see if somebody's up the inside or around you. And some of these car owners, they probably don't want to turn in at the risk of making contact, so they're a little bit nervous at times, a bit tentative.
Fast through the king, that one. A couple of German-bred cars. Audi versus BMW. Here's Tony Walls. Oh, Richo didn't know he was there. Tony couldn't quite disappear in time, and there was a little bit of contact, but they both live on. Tony, a winner on the streets of Adelaide earlier this year in a safety car effective race. Did a very good job putting the objective McLaren prepared by McElrea in Queensland in P1. Let's check out a replay here. Richo's turning in now.
Not too bad. I don't think that would have done a lot of damage.
Just a little piece of the winglet or something bouncing around on the road.
Just like I was saying before, you know, the cars are hard to see out of. Richo didn't see down the inside there, and just a little bit of contact, nothing too major. So the guys at the front now, they'll be trying to disappear into the distance. If you're a pro driver, the thing that you don't want to hear is safety car. You want to try and have a green race here so they can stretch their legs and try and build that lead before they come in for their long pit stop. If you're an AM driver, though, safety car, you want to hear it.
It's beautiful.
Just before the pit stop.
Oh, Shields toe-to-toe with Capo, reigning F3 champ Capo.
Brad Shields is really, really good steerer. He's drives that car. It's probably not the newest car in the field, but he definitely gets every last little bit out of it. So good to see him there mixing in with Ricky. Two young guys.
Gets that move made, and that was for P8. So they're doing a nice job, these two, inside the top 10. Capo actually got to test drive that BMW at Hockenheim before he bought it. Not a bad place to test the hardware out.
In the break between Phillip Island and Townsville here, we had Nathan Morecambe and George Mediki driving over in Asia there in the Aston Martin. They had their first Asian GT experience, and I don't know if it went to plan for them as such, but they learned a lot and they'll come back a better team for it. So good on them for giving it a crack. George isn't here this weekend. I think they're sort of more focusing on the endurance side of things. But you know, for Nathan jumping out of the McLaren and jumping into the Aston's quite a hard task.
That was tight between Taylor and Samadi. They seem to get through there unscathed.
I saw those guys having dinner last night, so it might have been a bit of a quiet dinner if they made contact then.
Especially with Samadi's new Audi. How about this? Tony Walls pouncing to the inside. Can he get it stopped? Richo sees that one coming. Oldest trick in the book. He just takes that position back. But how's the confidence of a guy who is a businessman passing Stephen Richards under brakes down in turn 2? And now Richo going on the defensive, saying that's enough of that. Thank you very much.
One of the things in these cars is they've got ABS, and so it gives the driver a lot of confidence. They do make a lunge down the inside. They just need to push as hard as they can, and the systems hopefully will take over and stop the car in time. You don't run that risk of locking a tyre and damaging a tyre. So it builds confidence in some of these guys that aren't driving all the time.
Well, this is probably the biggest difference between Carrera Cup and GTs. Those two raced each other in Carrera Cup, never saw each other. You'd never see Tony Walls pass Richo in a Cup car, but in the GTs, it's a real leveler with those electronics. That's why we see these two actually brawling for position.
Yeah, and that's why we see these categories so popular now. You know, you got these guys that can afford to go racing in awesome cars, and you know, some of these drive rates do make it a little bit easier and build their driver skills and confidence, and you know, that's why the category is really booming, especially in Australia.
Richo's got his hands full here. He's got Konduras and the Super Barn Audi ahead, and Tony Walls still niggling away.
So we haven't seen much of the leaders at the moment, but I hate to say it, but Christopher Mees has just taken my lap record. God damn it.
1:11.9, the first 11 turned in race trim, and Tony's lap record,
I'm spewing,
set here in 2014, is out the window.
It lasted last year.
Yeah, stood proud, the Ferrari record. That was only going to last so long. That's right, bring the 488 back.
That's only a tenth off his qualifying lap, so he's got clear air at the moment. He's made use of it, and that's a ripper time.
Well, his pit stop is 10 seconds longer than Craig Baird's, so he needs to try and get as close to 10 seconds as possible. But to be honest, I'd back Tony Bates against Scott Taylor as well. So Tony Bates is a very good amateur driver. I say that with the utmost respect. He's really a semi-pro, to be honest, because he's very good. Here's Elliot Barber. He's got John Martin, former LMP2 racer. Made his Carrera Cup debut, John Martin, at this track last year. So knows how to pedal a Porsche around Reed Park. Look at the size of the rear wings on these things. They're like surfboards, crafted and glued onto the back of a sports car. And they glue the rear end down with plenty of grip. We go on board with Barber. He's raced here in the Utes before.
So from that point of the corner, they're looking for the exit, all the way out to the exit curb, jumping over the curbs. This car here in particular is not really enjoying the curb, so he's having to steer clear of them. Johnny Martin, though, is right on the back of him. He's going to pounce anytime soon.
I just wonder if we have a legacy of that opening lap stoush with Webb for Barber here. The car is a little bit down on speed. Maybe some steering damage from that left front contact that he made. Actually, it was right front for him, I should say.
I'm not too sure what the big strength of the Porsche is just yet, so It's obviously new to Australia at the moment, and we haven't seen it doing a lot of racing, but Elliott's just protecting his line a little bit on the entry to the corner. He'll get away with that a little bit, but not too much blocking. I think John's going to have a go now. Should be a clean move. Big, deep under brakes.
Oh.
Runs it a bit wide. Elliott does the perfect switchback there, so it wasn't as simple as it looked.
Be frustrated with that one. Nathan and Tunis will take over car 61. They will have a pit stop time that is a little bit shorter than a lot of these guys around them, but not Martin's. Martin's pit stop's actually 25 seconds shorter than the McLaren. But he'll be handing it over to a rookie.
Yeah, that's the problem there a little bit. So John's trying to make a gap at the moment. He's quite aggressive.
This battle's still raging on behind McMillan here, who's in P12. Then it's Konduras, Stephen Richards, whose son Clay was racing at the Australian Kart Championship round in Ipswich last week. We'll be racing there for the Coates High Ipswich Super Sprint at the end of July.
Must be in the Richards family blood to be racing into the karts now, which is great. Good thing for Stephen to do as a father and a son. My old man just take me karting all the time and spend a lot of his hard-earned cash.
Family tradition.
That's it.
And hopefully we see that with the Richards family as Martin, this time again at turn 2, doesn't try the big Hail Mary. Mees has built a 5.4 second lead over Baird. Then there's a pair of McLarens, Webb, Quinn. Then it's this battle for 5th. Elliott Barber holding off John Martin.
John's flashing the lights now, trying to destabilise Elliott. John's got a bit more speed on board, but getting tucked up behind that McLaren, he just can't explore it as much there with the aero that he's got, sort of in the dirty air. But I think you'll find within a couple of laps he'll make his way through and get on with the race.
Gee, Barber's best lap is 2 seconds slower than that of the leader. So
maybe he does have a bit of damage from that first lap incident there. His steering might just be a little bit out because, you know, Barber's been really quick, so I wouldn't expect him to be that far off the leaders.
That is why John Martin's wanting to get a hurry up here. But you just can't seem to find a way around the big 4-litre, 6-cylinder boxer, 500 horsepower for the Porsche, up against a twin-turbo V8 for the light and nimble McLaren. Is this the moment for the 997 GT3R? No. But Barber's going to be careful to not lose a lot of his own time here. It's almost time to just let the Porsche go and worry about seeing him later when the pit stops all even out. Knowing that he's handing over the car to Antunes and that Martin's going to be handing the car over to an AGT debutant.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, he's not blocking too much at the moment, so he's probably not losing too much time. But, yeah, it's definitely a balance there. You know, do you let him go and just focus on your own race? But to be honest, I don't think, you know, Elliott and Nathan are really racing the Porsche as such. So if it becomes a little bit close to call later in the race, maybe you should let him go.
Porsche have 7 championship wins in the Australian GT Championship.
That would have been with the Quins, yeah. And
a long way back even throughout the 80s, back to the early 60s when this championship first started. 1960, the Australian GT Championship. It's got a lot of history, but it's been seen through many different guises over the years as well. Most recently getting a kickstart in the 2000s. And now stronger than ever, you'd have to say. With these late GT3 generation cars like this one, the new R8, which is just an absolute weapon. Saw it didn't really have a great run at the 12-hour at Bathurst this year. It was a little bit down on power in a straight line.
Yeah. Yeah, the Audi has amazing aero. So at Bathurst they can make up a lot of their time across the top of the mountain, but as soon as they got held up a little bit across the top, they were basically a sitting duck down the straight. So he's just coming up here on...
He's got hookies, so the first of our traffic. So Scott's doing a good job. All right, well, Tony Bates will be gearing up and getting ready to hop in this car in the pit stops, and he's down with Kylie King in the pits.
Yes, Tony Bates, watching obviously Chris doing a wonderful job there. What's your take on how he's racing out there? He's doing some wonderful times, isn't he?
Yeah, he's cracking out some really good times. Yeah, he's a gun driver, he's a factory Audi driver, so he knows what he's doing out there. He's doing a sterling job, and going to hand it over in a pretty good position, albeit we've got a fairly huge compulsory pit stop time, but see what we can do.
We've seen you in Porsche Carrera Cup, but this is a little bit different for you.
Yeah, different format of racing, so it's something very different. It's exciting. All the team are involved. We've got pit stops and driver changes, and yeah, I'm enjoying it thoroughly, having a great time.
Handy little team to be stepping into too, this one.
Sorry?
It's a great little team to be stepping into.
Yeah, look, NPC do a great job, and you know, the Move It Net car is in good hands here, and you know, unfortunately, I've got the gig for the rest of the year because of my mate Jeff Emery that had a bad accident at Barbagallo, so best wishes to Jeff.
Good on you, Tony.
Thank you.
Very seasoned campaigner in Carrera Cup, and in about 20 minutes time he'll be taking the wheel, even less, of the #1 Audi. It's an interesting way to go about racing the weekend by starting with the Pro and finishing with the AM driver in this race. Out of the 7 drivers which have seen co-drivers, that's only been a winning combination in 1 of them so far this year. So it's usually start with the AM and finish with the Pro because of the safety car factor. That can help out. If this race does go safety car free, it could be that Mies and Bates climb to the top today.
It's an interesting one. We haven't, in my experience in the category, never really worked out what the best scenario is. You don't know what anybody else is doing, so you sort of just got to make a bit of a decision and go with it. Generally, we try and do it so the Pro will end the 2nd race on Sunday, so that might be the theory with some of these guys.
All right, this is finally the Porsche has broken through on Elliott Barber. A great battle comes to an end, and John Martin, who's now basing his racing operations in Australia once more after a great stint in Europe, returns home, and he's just taken P5 there away from Elliott Barber, who's, I believe, really limping at the moment with that McLaren.
Pretty ambitious move down there at 3.
Here comes Steve McLaughlin. Wow. ABS is his friend as he swings to the inside. Man, he tramped that middle pedal, but it wasn't enough to hold on to the spot. Stephen Richards, he's been playing that move over and over. Oh, Greg Taylor fancies a move to the inside. Not quite. There's a few Audis here. The poor BMW is getting hounded by the Audis. Look at them all. They're lining up.
Steve McLaughlin there, he's doing a really good job this weekend. He's ahead of some of his teammates, which is a good start. And putting pressure on, how many Bathursts has Stephen won now?
That's, what, 4?
4 Bathursts. So that's not a bad thing to put on your resume. Definitely that BMW is just not suited to this sort of style of circuit compared to the Audi that you know, he's just struggling out there, Stephen Richards.
Yet to see the best of the Beamer. Nathan Morecambe, your championship leader now, with Brad Shields. Porsche is actually finding that the track conditions are suiting them today. The hotter it gets, the more the turbo cars will suffer. The turbo lag on a day like today is not going to be ideal. It's beautiful for running around Phillip Island on a cold day. Not ideal for running around Townsville on a warm, would-be winter's day up here.
Yeah, the McLaren hasn't really been that quick in this race. I mean, Jono Webb, he's setting some pretty good times and still up the front. But these other 2 cars, they're probably you know, a good second off what they should be. So whether they've gone a different direction with setup, who knows?
Oh, I thought Shields got airborne then over the train tracks. It looked like I could see air underneath that car. Not what you want to be doing, breaking that aero run underneath it as Webb laps Hookie in the older model SLS Gullwing. Still a rad-looking race car, but has definitely been superseded.
Jono's just looking through the windscreen there. He's sitting quite high in the car. Got a replay here.
All right, so this was him lapping Scott Hookie, who's only in his 2nd or 3rd AGT meeting, and oh yeah, that's a harsh lesson for him to learn, but he got away with it.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually quite a late move, but you should be aware that there's a fast guy coming through.
Oh.
You see even Webby was quite wide on the exit, so it's almost a bit of a lunge.
Had to get the job done, needs to keep turning good times before he hands that car over to Grant Denyer. They have the longest pit stop time in the race, Webb and Denyer, so he needs to make haste while he's got some clean air. 20 minutes gone in this race. We're about 5 minutes from that window opening. Still no safety car, which is good news for the Pro guys leading at the front. They need to build a gap before they take their pit stop times. 1 minute 50 the time for Mies, 1 minute 40 the time for Baird, who is in 2nd position in this Saint Mercedes. 8.5 seconds behind Christopher Mies.
I would have thought Beardo would have gone with Mies. Obviously, the Mercedes not as quick as the Audi today. But those guys had some great battles at the Grand Prix earlier this year and at Phillip Island recently. Beardo was on fire in the 101. It was really great to see him.
Oh, needs to be careful here. He's got traffic. This is Ellingham in the Fastway older model Audi. It's amazing how old those Audis look already. That was like 2 years ago. That was a brand new Schmicko looking car. And already it looks prehistoric compared to the new model Audi. Ellingham goes down the lap. That's another McElroy prepared car.
I must admit, driving the new 488 Ferrari and then going back to the 458 for the Phillip Island 101, it was like driving a car that was 20 years older, you know, and then previous to the 488, that's all I knew. But the new car is just so nice with the wheel and the way it operates. And these new Audis and the new models are so, would be exactly the same. So it's interesting to see how the older model does age very quickly.
So if you're Christopher Mies, you know you're not allowed to drive for longer than 55% of the race, which is 33 minutes. So you'd be pushing that all the way to the button. You'd be trying to dive into the pits as close as you can to that 33-minute mark. Yeah,
it is a balance because you know, you want to have your fastest driver in there as long as you can, but he's got a really good co-driver in Tony Bates. So at the moment, the window's open. You don't want to run the risk of a safety car falling in this period and you know, evaporating his lead. So he'll probably run the gauntlet for a little bit, but if there's any you know, hint of a safety car, they'll be in the pits to change over.
100%. Hopefully, it'll be before that window opens for everyone else in the field. Mies would just be thinking, I don't want to see those boards. Those two letters, SC, would absolutely kill their campaign today. But they're getting ready. The survey says Grant Denyer is ready to go. He's got his helmet on. Won here last year with Tony D'Alberto.
Scotty Taylor getting his helmet on as well. A bit of pressure on Scott, you know. He's going to jump into the race in second position there and try and bring the car home. But he's been doing a lot of racing. I'm sure he'll do a good job.
Yeah, also running in Carrera Cup with Scott Taylor. So 9-second lead for Mies. He needed to build 10 seconds to make sure that he was going to be ahead of the STM Mercedes after the pit stops. It's looking okay at the moment.
It's even not all about just pure lap time. It's how you're getting through that traffic as well. You can easily dump a second getting stuck behind a car for 2 or 3 corners, as we saw Mies get stuck before, can really come into play when we get into the pit stops. So these guys are pushing as hard as they can. We see Beardo now with the headlights flashing, telling the cars in front to basically get out of the way, I'm coming through.
The big winner out of this will be Martin. Once he eventually pits, they should only be 6 seconds behind the leader on their adjusted pit stop time. Their pit stop 26 seconds shorter than that of Christopher Mies. As we check in with poor Stephen Richards, who's having a rough old day here.
He's in a world of pain at the moment. It's not going to get any better for Max and Twig when he opts in either. It's you know, early stages for this car. We love seeing it in the category, and it had some great results at Phillip Island. So certain circuits are suiting it. Just this one in particular is not so nice.
Oh, and his pit stop time is like 40 seconds longer than the car behind him right now.
Yeah,
this
so
is going to get worse before it gets better.
He's hoping, oh no, he won't be home for the safety car at all.
Nothing
he's
can
just
help
hoping,
him right now. He's hoping that a giant hole will open up in the middle of the racetrack and swallow about 10 cars up, because it's all he needs to get inside the top 10. It's not worked out regulation-wise or speed-wise for Stephen Richards. McLaughlin, though, with that very short pit stop, could pop out near the top 5 here. Only 56 seconds his pit stop time for the number 2 Audi. NPC expanding their operation here this weekend with Audis numbered 1 through 5. And finally, the first of the pit stops happens right on the window opening. Here we go. The hooky highlight reel. This time it's going to be... Poor Elliot Barber's going to try and match the damage on the left-hand side to the right-hand side with that one.
Might straighten him up.
Let's check it out again.
Poor old hooky. He just hasn't done a lot of racing with these guys, and probably didn't even expect him to be throwing it down the inside there. But being a lap car, you sort of do need to be a bit more aware. That'll come with a bit more time in the car.
This is Ricky Capo.
So Ricky's driving by himself, so he basically just gets to sit there, has a chat to his engineer, might adjust the tyre pressures.
Have a drink.
Yep.
Get comfortable. His dad was trying to install some cooling into that car for Clipsal this year because it didn't really come with much from Germany. Cooling, not so much of an issue when you're running around tracks like Nürburgring or places like Monza or anything like that. Doesn't get all that hot.
The good thing about a lot of these cars, you know, I know especially the Ferrari, we've got air conditioning. So if it's up here in the previous years when we race, I haven't run a cool suit, nothing like that. You just crank up the air conditioning and it's comfortable enough.
Here's the leader lapping people.
You see how he's still pushing really hard to try and bridge that, you know, make a gap.
Yeah, but look at the traffic he's got here. I wonder if it'd just be better to get into the pits because he's going to lose time trying to pass 5 or 6 of these cars. Kylie, it's busy down there in the pits.
It sure is, and just a quick chat with Grant Denyer before he ran off. He said that Jonathan Webb has been throwing up in the car. So he said he wasn't unwell before he got in, but I'll certainly be chasing Jonathan up just to find out, yeah, what his condition is.
Oh, better you than me, Kylie. That doesn't sound very good at all. That's
he didn't seem eager to get in the car, I must admit, old Grant.
Jeez, maybe you had a dodgy Moreton Bay bug or something last night. But there you go. If there's ever one place you don't want to be throwing up, it's in a helmet with a balaclava on. In a race car. Jonathan Webb, not pleasant at all. I remember Mark Webber doing that at the Chinese Grand Prix. No, Japanese Grand Prix, throwing up in the helmet.
That would be horrendous.
I would, yeah. not a good time for it, to say the least.
All right, so this is going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out now.
Poor Grant having to hop in the car when that's just happened. I bet he misses driving with you now.
There's always that question, you know, if you need to go to the toilet, what happens? Well, you unfortunately have to do it. And but I've never actually had to sit in the driver's seat before after they've gone to the toilet. And I wouldn't even know, to be honest. It just feels sweaty and yuck. So Glenn Wood here.
That's the pit stop timer, clicking away. He is about to launch an attack here. If there's a late race safety car, guys like he and Marcus Marshall will be the ones to watch out for as Mies is lapping his teammate. Man, he's in a world of his own this weekend.
That's seriously fast.
McLaughlin sees him coming and clears out. To lap people within 24 laps is a huge effort in a similar car.
Yeah, I mean, and Steve McLaughlin's been doing a great job, so that's surprising he's been able to get it back around. It is a short lap here, but it just shows you how fast he is. Okay, Nathan Morecambe in now, and Brad Shields. So Nathan, again, he'll be just sitting in the car, having a chat to his engineers and really just regrouping and thinking about the last little stint that he's got to do.
Slow and steady in the pits, only allowed 2 people working on the car, which for the Porsche in the background is going to see a tyre change. Championship leader is in.
Brad Shields there, hops out.
Hopefully they'll be in the pits a little bit longer than last year.
Yeah, hopefully they get it right this time.
Unfortunately, they miscalculated and it cost them the race win. This time last year, rattle guns on the back. Pirelli off, Pirelli on.
It's good to see Brad getting an opportunity back in that car. Does a really good job for the limited experience he's had.
Raced at the World Time Attack Challenge last year, Brad Shields. In a car that kept blowing up that weekend. And the Audi is cutting through the traffic. Tony Walls will be next on the hit list. And his lead has diminished a little bit, now down to 8.5 seconds. As Morecambe sits there pondering his championship hopes. He's going to lose a few points to Clark Quinn if they finish in this order, but still looking okay. Could technically wrap up the championship this weekend if a whole lot of things went his way, but it's not looking like that's the case at the moment.
Grant Denyer now, he's in the car. He'll just be dialing himself back in. All the tyres are nice and warm, brakes are hot.
Well, Jono must have been feeling sick to have pitted before the halfway point of this race and actually let Grant do more driver time.
Oh, he is a good steerer though, so obviously Jono feeling crook, but putting Grant in isn't going to be a disadvantage, that's for sure.
Grant's drive at Sydney Motorsport Park last year in the rain against all the pros while you were off becoming a dad and missing out on playing race cars was inspiring. He's a very good race car driver, Grant Denyer. A winner here in the Dunlop Series, a winner here in the GTs, and he's at the wheel now of the Techno McLaren 650S. We just tick over the halfway point of this one. 26 laps in. Mies leading, no sign of him coming into the pits, but he can only be in that car for another 3 minutes, so he can't be far away. Bad traffic.
See, this is the sort of stuff that just holds you up, can ruin your race, you know.
Needs to be aggressive, but needs to also be careful. You don't want to go damaging the car just before that pit stop process.
You can always tell the guys that have driven V8 supercars before because they're all over the curbs trying to shortcut the track as much as they can.
No one's using the curbs here this weekend in this category like Craig Baird.
No, absolutely not. Doesn't really have a lot of sympathy for that car.
He's just grabbing it by the throat and wrangling it around this track at the moment. His lead now means has actually gone to 2.2 seconds. So the traffic on this lap alone is killing Craig Baird. And that is the difference between their pit stops as in comes the multi-Carrera Cup champion. He'll be on the grid with Erebus at Bathurst this year, and so too does the race leader. Now this is good because their pit stop times are 10 seconds different. So it should be by just 0.6 of a second if they get their act together in the pits. Car number 1 should be coming out ahead of the 222. Here we go. The race is on, believe it or not, because pit stops are a bit more of a casual process.
It is a casual process, and coming from V8 land where you try and do your pit stop within sort of 15 seconds, you sort of run around and then you jump in, do your belts, and you think, oh, hang on, I've still got a minute to go here. So you can sort of take your time. We saw Jono Lester, I think it was
Adelaide.
Yeah, last year at Adelaide, take a selfie.
Mid-pit stop. I double dare you to try that with Scott Pye at Bathurst in a pit stop change.
No, I don't think so. I think I'll just
Captain would love it.
get my insert in and get back out there.
Clark Quinn continues on, and he is the new leader. Yet to pit. He and Elliot Barber are the two yet to come in. And his pit stop time for Clark Quinn, 1:34, so 6 seconds less than Baird. And Barber's will be 1:41, so 1 second more than Baird.
One of the benefits to driving this whole race yourself, you see Ricky Capo down the inside there, is you know what the car's doing. You're already sort of in tune with the car for that first stint. You know what the weaknesses, the strengths are. You know how good the tyres are at that time. And when you jump in as a fresh driver, it takes you a couple of laps to get your head around that. And you can dump a lot of time. So the pro drivers generally work it out a little bit quicker. But if you're, staying in there the whole time, it's definitely that bit easier.
Now, Clark Quinn's going for another lap here. My understanding is that the pit stop window closes at 36 minutes.
He could be in a bit of strife.
He needs to get a serious wriggle on to get back into the pit entrance. The boys have made their pit stops here. Back slapping all round for Craig Baird, who takes off the helmet after another great stint. Although he was a little bit outdriven by Christopher Mees. Got a bit of a red face going on there, does Beardo?
Probably a few reds last night. No. No, Beardo is one of the fittest drivers out there. Is that right?
Oh, good recovery. Here comes Barber. He's in just before 36 minutes, if not right on the button.
Now, these guys, Barber and Anchin, as I was saying before, they went training yesterday afternoon. Are they crazy?
Commitment, man. Commitment. Here comes the Saint Apparel car is out, and that was the #1 Audi getting out ahead of him. So there it is. So it's more than 0.6 of a second. So the Audi pit stop was a little bit more efficient there, maybe. Because there was only 0.6 separate. Oh no, Taylor slow to get going at the exit of turn 2. And Tony Quinn pounces. Now, you want to be careful because if Taylor's looking at things on the dash or on the steering wheel, it's a dangerous time to pass someone, but Quinn makes it stick. And now that lead has been extended greatly. So all the hard work of Craig Baird evaporates in the space of 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's quite a tricky one. As I was saying before, these guys are jumping in. They're cold. They haven't actually driven today, a lot of these guys. So they're sort of trying to get their heads around it again. And they're in the middle of a race. So they don't have a lot of time to figure it out.
So Clark Quinn's in the pit now. He would have been very close to making that window or not. We'll have to wait and see what race control says about that one, but he's in there taking that pit stop now, and the same goes for dear old Dad, who's yet to pit. Now he comes in, Tony Quinn in the background. It'd be interesting to see if they want to ping the owner and the owner's son on a regularity. I'll leave that one up to race control. I'm not touching that one. Here they are in the pits. Oops, Tony.
Poor old Greg Crick, he's got to make that call. And sometimes we saw at the Grand Prix there, he made a call against Quinny, and I don't think it went down too well.
No, right.
But hey, he's got to do that.
Fair, he pinged Christopher Mees for contact in Adelaide. That was his old co-driver who he won the championship with last year. How's the technique of extracting a driver out of the car? Literally 2 hands under the armpits, yank him out.
Yeah, Hooky there. He looked a little bit tired after that stint. It is hot out there, really, really hot. And, you know, he hasn't got used to it just yet. So he's probably driving very tense in the car.
Oh, I bet.
Exerting a lot of energy.
Good on him, having a crack. He's partnered up with Roll Harris in their exotic track days.
Yeah, he's got a lot of nice cars. I think saying that he's partnered up with Ryle, I think Ryle does the running and Hooky does the buying.
It's a perfect partnership for Roll Harris to be in. Get to play around in beautiful Lambos and McLarens and stuff like that.
I think they do these exotic days at the circuit, but they also do a lot of drives as well in these cars, and you can come and buy a drive in an exotic Ferrari or whatever it is that he owns. So pretty cool little concept. Rather than them just sitting in the garage the whole time, why not put them to use?
I saw something floating around in the regs earlier today, or confusion with the regs, that some people may have thought that the pit stop window was 33% to 66%, which would have taken it to the 40-minute mark. I just wonder if a few people thought that that was still the rule this weekend off the back of the 101 at Phillip Island. Not too sure. There's that many rules. It's like sitting in on the UN Bill of Human Rights to try and figure out what's going on. So we'll update you with that later. There's our leader going through the window, and here now is Clark Quinn after his pit stop in 2nd position. So he has jumped up ahead of the STM Mercedes and into the top 2, and will be closing the championship lead up on Nathan Morecambe if the race finishes like this. So it's working out beautifully for the 650S with that tiny question mark about when they made that pit stop.
Replay here
busy,
in the background.
Busy. Well, this is not going to work well. McLaughlin to the inside. Samadi lets Capo go around the outside, and Capo is having such a good race. Makes a fair old bit of contact there. And Neil Mustin did a really good job to miss them in the Porsche.
Oh, Glenn Wood here, down the inside of Grant Denyer.
Oh, he tried to get up on the curb to miss him. You could see Grant didn't know he was there. He tried to get out of the way.
It's actually a really short braking zone there, so going to be quite ambitious to make that stick.
And then Denyer around the iMac Porsche. That's an almighty battle for position.
Just going back to that first incident there with Capo and McLaughlin, the circuit is so wide down there at turn 2. You know, Ricky's a long way out to the left-hand side. He just would not have seen anybody down the inside, and definitely wouldn't have meant to turn in, but he just wouldn't have seen.
There he is, fighting on in the Z4 up against the new 997 GT3R. So Mees and Bates leading. Mees already out of the cars, handed it over to Tony. He goes Largo on the charge. That should be for position. It's for 3rd position. The JBS Lamborghini off the back of he having a big Carrera Cup crash at this track last year. Roger Largo on track for a top 3 with the headlights on. He means business.
Yeah, he's got Dave Russell on the radio to him, so it'd be quite hard for Dave. You know, he'd want to be in that race car, but he's trying to pass on as much knowledge as he can to Roger. And they're a good little partnership. You know, Roger himself as a driver is really, really a good driver. So any little bit of information that Dave can help him with, definitely push him further towards the front.
All right, let's get down to Kylie, who has found the under-the-weather Jonathan Webb.
Well, I do need to clarify, but Jonathan, you're actually looking okay. What's the story?
Yeah, I'm feeling all right. So there was a bit of confusion, struggling with radio a little bit in the car this morning, so boys kind of lost, didn't know what was going on, trying to talk to them about what's happening, and somewhere along the way people thought I was throwing up. So I know I'm a little bit unfit and out of shape, but 30 minutes in one of these things shouldn't do that to me.
Your team stitched you up. If you don't talk to them, they'll just make up stories. You can blame Grant for that. Speaking of Grant, you've just seen him in the action there. Your take on what's been going on so far. A little moment there, of course.
Yeah, he's pushing on. You know, it's with our long pit stop time, I think we're about 20 seconds longer than nearly anyone else out there. So sat in here a long time, which means he's got to work twice as hard to catch it back up. So good to see he's got his elbows out, pushing on a little bit, and hopefully he can get near the front for the end.
Thanks for the chat.
Thank you.
So Jonathan Webb is A-OK. Good news, everyone. He's not throwing up the car, which is even better news for Grant Denyer, who's now driving that car. So,
hey, it made a good story.
It was great. We beat it up.
That's it.
I believe the drivers who made those late pit stops were not late. So we believe that the pit stop window would have been taken from when the cars were released. Without getting too technical, let's just say that they're okay.
That's good to know. I mean, we don't want to penalise anybody. We've got Morecambe here on the back of series owner Tony Quinn. Oh, got a car off.
I had a little moment then. I thought it might be Bates, but it's the number 2.
Looks like there's a bit of damage on the back there.
Well, hopefully he gets that going because his teammate needs the green flag to stay out right now. These guys are fighting down at turn 2. It's Greg Taylor in the Audi being followed by Capo. Mustard on debut. Here comes Denyer under brakes. Fighting his way back. Grant Denyer somehow ended up in 12. Oh, that's right. They had this seriously long pit stop. So he's fighting his way back down from 12th at the moment. A lot of work to do.
Nathan Antunes here. Trying Ash Samadi.
I wonder if they could straighten his car out a bit in the pit stop process because it was definitely hurt after an opening lap clash with Jonathan Webb.
Now, Tony Quinn is probably one of the hardest blokes to get past. I don't know what it is. It is a big car. To see how he places the car, he definitely doesn't make it easy for the young guys.
That's where McLaughlin was pulled up earlier. I'm not sure if he's got it out of there and if we're still staying yellow there or not, but direct plasterboard outlaw. Oh, I was going to say the direct plasterboard outlet. McLaren, it's a real tongue twister. That one had a look.
DPO, sounds better.
Let's stick with DPO, good idea. And there is the stranded Audi after making its way back in.
Yeah, I just wonder whether they've had a tyre problem. They've had a few of them over the course of the year. Maybe a tyre's gone down or something to create that, you know, for Steve to go off the circuit. We didn't get to see a replay of it.
Here comes Denyer. And now he's got Mustard ahead of him, who's been very successful driving radical sports cars. Little open top, very nimble car. Oh, that's tight at the exit between the Interloy Lambo of Glenwood and Ash Shamadi in his new Audi. He'll lose another one here to Marcus Marshall, former champ car driver and British F3 race winner moving on through.
Ricky Capo there, he's got a tyre failure there. He's struggling back to the circuit. And that will be from the damage from Steve McLaughlin, the contact there at turn 2.
What a shame. They got into each other down at turn 2 earlier in the race and the BMW goes straight ahead. And will that see a safety car because it's an awkward part of the racetrack to be pulled up. So Tony Bates, who's on target to win his first GT race, he's sitting there thinking, please don't do it. He's going to try and get this car back and that could really do some damage.
So we've got Clark Quinn closing the gap on Tony Bates. He's within 1.4 seconds now. So that's sort of snuck under the radar a little bit. So he's well in the hunt here to take this race win.
Well, this could be a big late change as we approach the 3/4 mark of this race. Clark Quinn on a charge. We zoom through this very fast, complex turn 1, under brakes to turn 2, and here comes Denyer. Oh, Mustard, I thought he didn't see him at the last minute. He averts catastrophe and cops the second McLaren instead. Losing 4 spots in one corner. Welcome to the Australian GT Championship.
It's a bit of an angry pack here. You've got some really good drivers trying to make up that time that they've lost from the pit stop. And some of these other guys are sort of in the middle of it, and they're copying it. So
here's the leaders. The Audi, number 1, leading the way. I reckon Bates must have lost some time trying to find his way through traffic here. He's lapped Max Twigg, something he never would have done in Carrera Cup. And here comes Quinn now to the inside of the Beamer. Clears him, that's a lap car. And now he can set his sights on the Audi, which has got the headlights are flashing.
Yeah, Tony Bates now, he's putting pressure on anybody that's in front of him. Get out of the way. I'm leading this race. I'm under pressure.
I need your help to move. He's got Clark Quinn, who's a former race winner here and a Mosler.
Still got a lot of racing to go as well, so unless Tony can sort of up his pace a little bit or make his car very wide, I think Clark Quinn will be putting pressure on him to get past.
Only one other driver, other than the man standing right next to me in the commentary boxes, won 2 races here at Reeve Park, and it's the guy we're looking at, Clark Quinn. In 2011 and 2014, he picked up victories here. Oh, Bates losing time behind Ellingham. Needs to get a wriggle on here. The Fastway Courier's Audi is going to cost him that precious second lead that he's got. And you watch Clark Quinn pounce here.
Here we go. So we know the Audi's not that quick in a straight line. I wonder whether the McLaren will be able to make up that gap and make a lunge down into turn 2.
How does he play this one? He's got to get to the inside of Ellingham. Ellingham doesn't know which way to go.
Ellingham needs to get out of the way.
And there he goes. He's going right out of the way. He got himself stuck in the middle, and Clark with a beautiful over-under sneaks to the inside. and just pinches the lead of this race. Says thank you. New leader, and these are precious points for his championship hunt. He's second in the points now.
It's a tough one for Bates there. You know, he's trying to get past the lap car in front, so he's getting frustrated, trying to keep the car behind him as well. And unfortunately there, Clark Quinn got around. Well, fortunate for him, but Clark's done a lot of racing, so he sort of read that situation pretty good.
We have not seen a Pro 1 rated driver win a race this year. There's been 11 drivers, and not once has a Pro 1 driver won. So it doesn't pay to be a big-time pro in this series in 2016. It looked like Mies had done the work to get it done, but the shorter pit stop time pays off for a Pro 4 rated driver, Clark Quinn, and it's enough to see him take the lead of the race. 8 out of the 11 races this year have been won by drivers ranked between Pro 4 and AM3. So not mediocrity, but definitely that middle ground is where you want to be in terms of driver pit stops.
I think if the races were a little bit longer and a little bit more sort of strategy played out, you still see the Pro 1s get to the front. Morecambe now, down the inside.
Scotty Taylor, this happened a moment ago, and that's a beautiful move for his championship. He now moves to 4th. Taylor has dropped back to 8th in this race after being 2nd when the pit stop started. And Tony Quinn also pouncing here. Nice move, Tony. And what happened here at turn 13? So this was, Tony Bates losing a bit of time here with Max Twigg. Whew. Just throwing the Audi down there. Confidence in the Jamac Pem Audi, but he's not the leader anymore. Here is Nathan Antunes with the Lamborghini of Glenn Woods, and then Marcus Marshall.
Yeah, Grant Denya's been able to pull a little bit of a gap on these guys.
That's impressive.
So I think, you know, what we were talking about before about the Elliot Barber's car and Nathan Antunes, maybe it is a little bit sick.
Oh, Taylor around the top. That's not going to work. And he goes across the Virgin Australia signage.
Good try, though.
Hey, points for effort. He's up in P7. Doing a really good job in this championship, actually, Greg Taylor. Has been sharing with Barton Moore recently, but he's got the car to himself this weekend.
Yeah, I spoke to him the other day, and his aim is to do the sprint stuff by himself and then, you know, obviously get a co-driver for the endurance stuff. He's doing a lot of racing, though. He's also doing, you know, the feeder category Australian GT, which he's winning as well.
Yep,
trophy, yeah. So he's doing a lot of racing in these cars and gaining a lot of experience.
This is that battle where Scott Taylor has now fallen into the clutches of these guys. Doing a really good job in the Mercedes, trying to run with the big boys. Whoa, Glenn Wood on the outside of Nathan Antunes. Go on. Antunes, a race winner here last year, and that's close between those two. Right at the turn in, that turn 2, can't make it stick there. This buys Scott Taylor a little bit of breathing room, but he'll be the cork in the bottle through the S's.
What have we got here?
Turn 6. Oh, this is the big Hail Mary around the top.
Yep.
Ooh.
It's a tough one there. You know, I don't really see that playing out that well. It didn't, but points for trying, I guess.
Oh, they've got around Taylor, so they've scythed through there. Probably Scott just realising it's not best to get involved with a brawl through the flip-flop section, especially with these three who mean business right now. So that pushes Antunes to 9th. Wood
Marshall now down the inside of Wood.
Oh, yeah.
What a move.
Just muscles him wide at the exit too.
Gave him a little push on the exit.
Good racing. Audi v Lamborghini. Marcus Marshall, winner of race 2 in the championship. The only time where that pro start and finish combination worked, actually, was race 2 on the streets of Adelaide. But the big Lambo, it's got the legs.
This is what's great about this category.
Oh, man. This is getting...
I don't think Glenn was too happy with the run
treatment.
out of room.
Well, he's going to get it again here. Good racing, but yeah, the point you're making is what's cool about these cars. They make power in different areas, they have speed in different areas, and that was a great example of it. I guess, hailing back to the days of the Falcon GTs and the Toranas at Bathurst, they had their advantages in different parts of the circuit. And we're seeing that here with the Audi, which is not great in a straight line compared to the Lambo.
So now Marcus, he needs to push on the rest of this lap to open that gap up. So when we get back to the front straight, Glenn Wood doesn't have an opportunity to get back down the inside. The little games you have to play. But I mean,
he might be able to do his same move here at turn 10. He'll try it. It worked last time, but he's not close enough. Denyer picks up Tony Walls. Oh, we thought about it.
That was close.
Yeah.
That Just Cuts car with the black on the front always makes me think the front bar's been pulled off it. But I think it's still on there, it's okay.
Yeah, expensive error to have, should that be the case. One of those 3 Techno McLarens, the Clark Quinn and Tony Walls McLaren, not from Techno, so 5 out there. 650S's. Wood not close enough in the straight line to be able to challenge Marshall, who just covers him off on the inside.
See how much he pulled the gap, though. Yeah, it's quite a lot. How much quicker that Lambo is in a straight line.
Oh, here we go. Turn 3, that'd be brave. Like you said earlier, it's a small braking zone. Not there. Both V10s, Audi and the Lambo, so chasing down a twin-turbo 8 of the McLaren. We've got a 6-cylinder boxer in the Porsche and a V12 in the Aston, so we've got you completely covered for your different engine configurations this weekend. Under 10 minutes to go in this race. McLaren hopping over the train tracks, and Marshall, he loves this area for passing.
Oh, he's going to have a go.
Oh, from a long way back, and Tuna saw him coming, gave him a lot of racing room.
So that's the difference between somebody that's aware of cars coming. You know, you just give them that bit of room so don't make contact.
You watch the Lambo here in a straight line, Tony. Get a good exit. Use the power against the turbo-powered 8, which is going to struggle with a bit of lag here in the hot conditions, and the Lambo just whips through towards turn 1. Good move. And holds that line. And Tunis, we're right on board with him, looking over his right shoulder. Former Red Bull junior racer, had a crack at open wheel stardom over in the UK, returns to a sports car career in Australia, Sydney-based man.
He's got the best hair in pit lane.
Hands down.
Absolutely. Him and Elliot Barber. Good friends of mine. We do a lot of driver training together, travel around the countryside, so it's good to see him having a good crack in Australian GT. Not quite as fast as what I expected this weekend.
Tony Walls now getting picked on in the objective McLaren. It's going to just cost Wood a little bit of time through the bouncy turn number 10. And the second McLaren moves on through 2. That's Antunes. Is for position 10 actually.
Replay now. Marcus Marshall down the inside of Nathan Antunes. Just sidesteps, lets him make the move. Here we go.
We're putting you right in the McLaren. What a viewpoint that is. The onboard cameras are so cool as he works away on the almost fighter pilot-esque hand controls that he's got in front of him. Well, very much F1 style at least.
So our leader now, Clark Quinn. Got a little bit of lap traffic to deal with, but a nice, comfortable margin back to Tony Bates. Bates is still, you know, hasn't lost too much ground, but obviously Clark's just a little bit quicker than what he is today. McLaren's a little bit hit and miss, I find. You know, they're either really, really quick or they're sort of a little bit off the money. So interesting to see the Techno ones not quite as quick as Clark at the moment. This is danger time. You know, we're getting near the end of the race. People are getting tired. Coming through the field here, some of the amateur guys, you know, they're not quite as aware as some of the pros, and you've got to be careful.
That's the Rulo Lamborghini that they've just lapped. Performance West, their only West Aussie entry in the field this weekend, and Clark can now focus on the McPherson Porsche. He's got a good little buffer of 3 seconds over Tony Bates, and this is really going to breathe some life back into the championship here. A win. Oh, that's Taylor. He's looped it. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was contact to see him turn around there. It's an awkward spot to pull yourself out of. Ash Samadi. We're going to be looking at him, I think, for this one.
Yeah, that was a late move. Nowhere near close enough to have to go down the inside, and unfortunately Scott would never have thought that that was going to happen, so unfortunate. James Konduras there with his cool suit on.
His car is in P8 at the moment, in the hands of Marcus Marshall. Marcus has also raced here in a ute before, I think, from memory. Ricky Capo first drove this car at Winton when they took ownership of it. Had a brake failure at turn 6 and went spearing off into the fence. Literally its first drive in Australia. He had some repairs to do, and they just got it fixed in time to race at the opening round in Clipsal. He's growing with confidence. trying to fight his way back up after a couple of pit stops today. So he's a couple of laps down, unfortunately.
It's one of the best sounding cars out there, the Z4.
Never really achieved any huge wins for Z4. Didn't win I don't think it won the 24-hour at the Nordschleife. No, it didn't. BMW won that in their other model cars, but not in the Z4. All right, replay time here. Neil Mustard. Oh, that was close. But, oh, and then lights it up at the rear of the corner. That's pretty cool. Don't see that enough in the GTs with all their traction control settings. As the HRT boys watch on, that is the Walkinshaw Porsche on track, and there's the Walkinshaw HRT drivers, Melbourne Performance Centre now.
Those guys are not far away from their own qualifying session, so they'd be having a bit of a look how the track condition is, see if there's any debris or anything like that around the circuit before they jump in their wagons and get going.
We've seen 2 wins for Ferrari at this racetrack, and no other manufacturer has pieced together a couple of wins. McLaren, though, look like they're about to change that. Capo trying to unlap himself here from Antunes. Yeah,
to be honest, Nate's in the race here and Ricky's not, so he's got to be a little bit careful the way he makes passes. You don't want to get involved in anything when you're a lap down.
Antunes is 10th in the Beechwood car. Like I said, a winner here last year. Not been the day for them after that opening lap rub. Here is our race leader, the Sticks. Oof, the Sticks McLaren also with some traffic to deal with now. But that lead is up to 5.9 seconds, so it's working out beautifully. Tony Bates has slowly been broken up the inside of the last corner. Nice work, Mark Sini, to get out of the way in the R8, the older model Audi. 3 minutes to go, so just a couple laps left. He's actually lapped Scott Taylor here, so he's been on a tear since the pit stops. Driving alone, Clark Quinn, being the Pro 4 rated driver, you're allowed to do that. He's doing it nicely.
Quite a big advantage, I think, and especially someone of Clark's driving experience and speed. It's very tough to beat someone like that in these shorter races. So, very good drive from him, though. He sort of went on the radar a little bit to start with, but really pressed on when he needed to later on. So, got Largo here. He's up into P3. Another one that, doesn't really put a foot wrong too often and plays that pit stop time to his advantage and comes out with a result.
Winner of the first race of the year. A bit of a surprise, to be honest. That corner there, believe it or not, is where he had his accident last year. Such a nothing corner, but if you just have a lapse for half a second and you hit the inside wall, clearly, as he proved last year, can have quite the shunt.
Yeah, very big crash there. He's had action for quite a while. One thing that people sort of forget, you're sitting on the left-hand side of the car here. It's the same with the Porsche. So every day driving, you're driving the right-hand side. So you're judging the car width differently. If you're just not thinking for a second, you can just make that little brush with the wall, break the steering, and the accident can be much bigger than what it should be, sort of thing. So I know when I first jumped into these cars after driving V8s for a long time, I had to think about it a lot more than what I do now. So if these guys have got a bit of experience, it shouldn't be a problem. But you are threading the needle. You see how close they are to the walls.
We're hearing will be the final lap of the race here for Clark Quinn. Second in the points and is going to close up here because Morecambe's back and forth. It's going to really breathe some life into this championship. Last round will be over in New Zealand, which is where Clark Quinn got his last win, although that was Highlands. We'll be racing at a different track for the last round of the Sprint Championship. There's still plenty more action to go in the CAMS Endurance Championship. Their next round will be at Sydney Motorsport Park as part of the Red Rooster Sydney Super Sprint. A couple more corners to go. We're expecting a checkered flag this time for Clark Quinn in the Sticks McLaren. We've seen Morecambe and Walls win in McLarens this year. And we're about to add a third name and a fourth win for the British brand. With a thumbs up out the window, he says, thank you very much. It's his third win here on the streets of Townsville. And congratulations to the crew down there at Quinn Racing and all the folks from Sticks on a very well put together race that went safety car free.
It did. It was a little bit of a surprise. We saw a little bit of debris on the track, but nothing too major and not too many crashes either. So the boys behave themselves. They've got that race out of the way. I think come tomorrow, the elbows there be out a little bit more. Roger Largo there, P3. That was a great job.
This paddle going on and on. Greg Taylor trying to come home for 6, but look at the guys queuing up behind him. Taylor will not quite get it. He holds on for 6. Marcus Marshall right behind him. And Grant Denyer, who did a really good job as well, but it's Clark Quinn. And that win margin, 11 seconds in the end, which is actually the biggest win at this track. Last year, we saw Antunes beat you by 10.3 seconds, so that actually eclipses that one. You've had a couple of records eclipsed in this race, including your lap record. Let's check out the results, Tony, at the end of what was an entertaining and fairly clean hour. Quinn getting the win. Mees and Bates. Mees will be disappointed because he put in a pretty good drive, so it's a shame not to see him get that win.
Yeah, for sure, but that's what the category's all about. And you got a lap record, so you can't complain too much. Largo there in P3, Morecambe P4, and we see Clark Quinn close the gap in the championship to Morecambe now.
Yeah, Stephen Richards and Max Twig off the lead lap, a long way down, and the M6 a little bit short of pace. Tony, good job. Head down to the DJR Team Penske Garage and cheer on your team because we're just 14 minutes away from qualifying. Get a spot on your couch, get comfy. Castrol Edge Townsville 400. We're going to go qualifying the other side of this.